evening, everybody. It is technically Friday, we are past midnight, and as you can see, I am at work. I unfortunately was pulled to labour ward yet again because we are short-staffed, nothing new, and I am looking after a woman having her first baby, and nothing much to report so far. We're at the very beginning of her labour. Nothing exciting will happen on my shift, I don't think. I haven't really spoken to you at all this vlog, so let's do a very quick recap. On Monday it was Easter, so my sister came over for Easter lunch, which was really nice, and we had a great weather, so I went for a walk after that. On Tuesday the weather continued. I think it went up to like 24, 25 degrees, and I went on a walk, which was also very nice. I actually don't think I filmed that though, which is unfortunate. And then on Wednesday I went to Westfields with Naya. We did a little bit of shopping, caught up. I didn't buy anything, however I have ordered some shoes, which every have said that they are due to get them soon. So once I have got them, I will show you. I picked up my brother's new MacBook, which is very exciting. Hopefully, I highly doubt I'll be there when he unboxes it, but I'll show you a sneak peek anyways. Today / yesterday, whichever way around you want to see it, I didn't do anything. I unfortunately wasn't able to fall asleep, which is really annoying because I usually have a nap before my shift from 2 to 5:30, but I just couldn't fall asleep at all. So I just ended up lying there in bed watching my series, which is Show Me the Money, which you will be getting a recap of on Sunday. I will most likely see you at the end of my shift / once I'm home. Please keep your fingers crossed that we have a smooth sailing shift. Good morning, everyone. I am back from work, back from my shift, and since I last spoke to you, I ended up going for a C-section because both mum and baby were over it. So we had our C-section, I think that was around 3 AM, baby was born. So then by the time they finished everything up, moved her to recovery, I finished my paperwork, it was 5 AM, went for my break, came back, was free for an hour, and then for the last hour of my shift I was asked to do some safety checks. All in all, it was a good shift. Nothing crazy happened. We shall see what it is like this evening. I have a feeling that they're going to put me on the antenatal ward because that's where I was supposed to be last night. I really don't want to be. Antenatal is not for me. I want to be on the postnatal ward. I haven't been on the postnatal ward in, I want to say, at least a month, which I think is crazy. We shall see when we get to work this evening. I have had my breakfast, I'm going to shower and have a nap. Hopefully I can actually sleep, but that would be nice. I have had like a lingering headache probably since we came out of theatre, and it's just not really got away. So I'm hoping some sleep will get it to leave. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Saturday and I am well rested after my nap. And I think it's time to give you a little recap of my last 2 shifts. I spent 2 nights on the antenatal ward and it is busy as heck. I don't know why, but for some reason, everyone's just needing to be admitted to hospital. So I was looking after a mix of long-term patients and inductions. So my long-term patients were mostly blood pressure ladies, where we're trying to figure out what medication will keep their blood pressure controlled for the rest of their pregnancies, and the other half were inductions that were either already started or needing to be started. Unfortunately, because of the doctor strike, it meant that we couldn't start any new inductions. Because obviously there were less doctors, but also there was quite a lot going on in labour ward already, and I'm pretty sure most of the rooms are already full up, so if someone needed to go there wouldn't really be any space. So my first night was busy, but managed to get through it. Second night, however, on Friday, it wasn't that smooth. On Friday We barely got to have a break each. I had a lady who was in early labour, and at one point I went to go see her. She was saying that she was in quite a lot of discomfort. She was 2 centimetres. I gave her some pain relief and then went back maybe like 40 minutes later. She was like, yeah, nah, this ain't helping. So I was like, okay, let me check you again. And she was fully dilated. Her baby was literally sat there, and I was like, we need to get you moved, because there is no way you are giving birth on the antenatal ward with 4 other people around you. Thankfully, someone had literally just left one of the rooms, so it was just finished getting cleaned, but there was no midwife to look after her, so I had to stay with her. Ended up being there for the birth and kind of sorting her out afterwards, and then went back to the rest of my patients. So that was like a hectic 2 hours, from getting her over to labour ward to her having her baby and then going back to my patients. That was quite stressful, but got through the end of my shift. I think everyone else settled quite well after hearing all of that commotion, which was quite nice. And then I was met with the surprise that there was no tube on my way home. So I walked all the way to the station to see that it was actually closed and that there was no service. So I had to get an Uber home. Thankfully the Uber was only £12, which is very, very nice. But compared to TfL, which is £2.10, it's, you know, not quite the same thing. But anywho, as I mentioned earlier, I am now home. I have had my nap. So because I'm on a day shift tomorrow, I slept, I think, until like maybe 2. So I think I probably slept like 4.5 hours, and I'm going to be up until this evening. Last week I really struggled to go to bed, and I think the same thing's going to happen this time. Usually they're quite nice in that they give us a night shift, and then you'll have like your sleep day, which is the day where you finish your night. That's your sleep day, and then you'll have a day off before your next night shifts. However, both last week and this week they've put me on days on the Sunday, which has not been helping my body clock at all. But what can you do? I will probably end up going to bed quite late this evening as well, just because I don't think I'll be able to fall asleep very quickly. You just have to live through it, I guess. Whilst we are here, we are going to do our media recap of the week, because I highly doubt I'm going to want to talk to you after my shift tomorrow, if I'm honest with you. So let's get straight into it. TV shows wise, I talked about this last week. I watched Bloodhounds, which was so good. It was a very different season compared to the first. So Bloodhounds is about these 2 guys who are into martial arts. I don't know what martial art they do in particular, but they basically fight, and then one of them gets into trouble and needs to take out a loan, ends up working for this company, and they kind of get like tied in, and they basically do some fights to gain money. And going into the second season, they are no longer working with that company, so it's just them 2, and they're doing okay at first. However, there is like an underground fighting club who wants to recruit one of the 2 guys. However, he doesn't want to be a part of that because it's like illegal gambling business. So the fighting club basically tries everything to try and like manipulate him into working for them. And that's pretty much what the whole season is about. And yeah, very good. Very happy to see the 2 back on screen together. And yeah, I would recommend the series. I'm giving it a 4.1 out of 5. Moving on to the next. Now this one is a throwback. So this show is called Show Me the Money, and it is a Korean rap competition. So I started watching this on season 6, I want to say. We are now at season 12, but they did take gaps in between the seasons. I think between season 11 and 12 there was a 3-year gap, but we are back. And I have missed it so much. I forgot how good this competition is. Like, honestly, chef's kiss. So I haven't finished it, obviously, but I think I'm pretty much finished. I think I'm on episode like 9 out of 11 or 12, so I am pretty much done. However, I am going into the season knowing who's won and knowing who's 4th. which is kind of random, but I don't really care. The winner, I mean, going into it, considering he was participating in the competition, there was no way he wasn't going to win, because that's just the type of person he is. But yeah, very, very excited to keep watching. Have thoroughly enjoyed it this far, and I would highly recommend it. And that is all I've been watching this week, because Bloodhounds took me, I think, probably like 8 or 9 hours, and then Show Me the Money, the episodes are like between an hour and a half to like 2 hours and a half long. So that obviously has been taking up a majority of my time. Moving on to music this week, I mean, we already know the first 2 albums that are going to be mentioned, Arirang and Monica, because they are still fan favourites. Moving on from, you know, the usual, we have been listening to a lot of French rap this week. I don't know what's made me want to go back into it. I think I probably had like a song that happened to be in like the, you know, the recommended after you finish a playlist or an album, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot about French rap. So now we're back into our French rap world. So we have been listening to a lot of Théodore. We have listened to La Suite, and Été 2025, which have all been, I mean, they are all bangers. I've also been delving deep into Big Flo and Oli, which I actually had tickets to go see them last year. However, I was completely knackered. I had come back from a trip, and it was the evening of me landing, and I didn't think it through, so unfortunately I didn't go, but I do really like their music. So from them, I started off with their new album, Karma. Then I moved on to Les Autres C'est Nous. And finally, I also listened to La Vie de Rêve, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. No markers, they are absolutely fantastic. There's lots of different genres across their 3 albums, and yeah, I would highly recommend to people that haven't listened to them. This is just a special mention of one song in particular. I was scrolling through Instagram and the song Don't Lie by the Black Eyed Peas came up, and that is such a throwback song. I heard that, I was like, I haven't heard that song in years. So special mention to Don't Lie, because that is a banger. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it, because it's such a great time. And that is the end of my media recap for this week. I hope you have enjoyed this week's vlog. Please cross your fingers, pray that tomorrow will be a good shift. And I will see you next week. Bye.